Welcome to Scottwood Research. I'm Robin.
I'm Patrick.
And we are here together for the first time in a video.
First time.
I know, it's
I
crazy.
can't believe it.
We've talked about it before, but have never gotten around to it. The reason why we're doing it this time is because of the subject matter. It's the human body.
She's a giggler.
It's a naked person.
You say the word nipples and a lot of people just laugh.
Talking about it is a little bit more difficult for me, just to keep a straight face and everything.
That's all I gotta say. You can't say butt crack without laughing.
I did my best to narrate this video. I think I held myself together pretty well.
So she asked me to help out because in my years of teaching drawing at the university level, I've seen so many naked bodies, more naked bodies than you could shake a stick at. So it ain't no big deal, you know, because it's not really a naked body. It's just a bunch of simple shapes and forms put together that look like a naked body.
And that's how I think of it while I'm flame working. There's steps that you go through and places where you add the glass, and that equals a torso this time.
Well, what I did for Robin is I gave her something like this. This is a decent reference book.
This book really helped me out when it came to the torso.
And reference. Draw.
And take notes on the different steps.
Sketch the human body, you know. That way when you get to the glass, you already kind of have an idea of what the forms are doing. Keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
Simple shapes make complex forms.
Right.
Yeah.
Excellent. I like this. That's a good way to put it. All right, you guys, on that note, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you guys next time somewhere in Scottwood Research.
And we'll try and do more together.
Yeah.
We like each other, really. We do. Okay.
Everybody take care.
Have fun. Be safe.
Bye. I'm going to start this piece out by using 3 rods that are bundled together with a rubber band. I decided I would go ahead and use this. It's like a sea foam green. I think it might be called Marmo Verde. I'm not real sure. I did go back and try to find proper color name, but it has eluded me. So we're going to start out with the base, with the bottom half of this torso. I'm going to just heat a very large amount of glass, whatever size I'm looking for. What I'm just tend to try to do is make it as large as I can. I feel comfortable going. That's pretty much my game plan. And the first thing I want to do here is establish the front half of the body and the back half. So I'm going to roll just a half roll back and forth, let things sag, and I'm establishing my belly right there. And that rounded part's going to be my back end. I'm going to let it cool down a little bit and cut the back side in. Try to do your best to make it even. I'm just going to flatten those hips out a little bit and then heat just the bottom and then press down. Don't press down too much because you don't want to squash it. Just establish that those are legs and that's the bottom of a butt, okay? Now what we need to do is cut the crotch in. So I'm using an X-Acto knife and trying not to laugh as I do this. I'm just cutting this in. Again, try to do your best to make it as even as possible so it's not leaning on one side or the other of the body. And then here I want to just make everything a little bit more larger, supple, I guess is the word. I don't want it to be too saggy though, so do be careful here that when you heat that backside, it's not drooping too much. You want to make sure that part remains flat. And then just add one cheek or another cheek just to make sure you have, things are nice and even. And then just establish those areas that need to be reestablished. Now that we're finished with the bottom half, we can use a Boro Punty that I have here. And This works out really nice in the end. The boro comes right out. So I'm going to use that to help me while I work the other end of the piece by gathering as much glass as I can. Gravity does help me out a little bit here, but if I don't feel like I can get too much there, I will go ahead and get as much as I can, cast it off, and then I'll go back and add some more here in a second. I just want to make sure that I'm not forgetting to heat up that bottom half while I'm doing this. Okay. I'm thinking about proportions. I'm smoothing the backside out, and here I'm just letting it get a little longer. And this is important. See how I just flattened the front side on an angle? That establishes a slight curve in the back and where the bottom of the breasts are going to be on the top of the stomach. And here I am just adding a little bit more glass to the stomach and reestablishing that chest line with the paddle. Now I need to cut the back in. I probably should have done this right off the bat and then establish that front side, but that's okay. It's in there. And that's, we're just looking at the anatomy here and trying to figure out what needs to happen. So at this point, I have a little bit. You can add more or less wherever you need to, but let's go ahead and put the breasts on. And I'll add the first one by laying down the dot and swiping up. That's going to look a lot more natural. Then do your best just to make one on the other side, but as even as possible. It does take a little bit of time. You don't need to get huge, but you want to have something there. These are kind of, I guess in the lines of the goddess figures maybe, or I'm just really trying to work on figures. And pulling out those breasts from the bottom does help to give it a better, more natural look right there. And then I just continue to add where I need to. So I'm happy with the way things are looking. Okay, so once I have the amount of glass I need, I'll heat up above the breast area and use my knife to flatten out where I want the glass to kind of become part of the top area. And then if I need to, this is the perfect time to add a little bit more on one side or another just to even everything up. Use gravity when you need to help areas either get a little lower or maybe get a little higher. And when you're done there, what we want to do is put the shoulders in. Let's establish those. We'll go back and make them larger, but for now, just add a dot with a swirl, do the other side, go back and forth, building up those dots, and then use any kind of tool. It could be a tweezers here. I think this is a ceramic tool or something, just to go in and lift up that armpit. It looks so nice when you do that. Then you can go ahead and heat both sides and very gently come in with a knife and flatten things out where the arm is going to be left off. Now we're going to put the neck on here. Make sure everything's warm before you do this, and add a little bit just to kind of get everything in line and established with the rest of the body. Then you can go ahead and add some more. And the tools that I use here, they're not, anything to write home about. It's just an X-Acto knife that really comes in handy for finer details, and my butter knife. So I'm going to flatten the top a little bit and bring in that neck some. Once things start to heat up and warm up and melt together, it'll look a lot nicer. Let's go ahead and add I want to kind of establish where my nipples are going to be on this piece. So I'm going to put those on. If they don't turn out the way you like them, just melt them back in and try it again. And at this point, I just want to make sure everything is nice and warm. And I'm also looking it over. And what I'm noticing is that I think my shoulders need to be a little broader. So I go ahead and add a little bit more to each side of the shoulder. And I'll go ahead and gently melt that in, reestablish the armpit area. And when I flatten it using the butter knife, I do like to lift up at a slight angle, so I'm not necessarily flattening the shoulders like I would say parallel. You want to make sure that there's a nice angle right here when you flatten them out. Then it's just a matter of slowly looking over everything and making sure everything is where you want it to be. And right when you're just about done, you're going to put the belly button in. Make sure everything is nice and warm. And then you're going to put the nipples back on where you had originally placed them, because at this point they may have gotten too soft. And you want them soft, you don't, okay. Just go ahead and make sure you got the nipples on there. And at this point, we are done. Just put this away in the annealer. I'm going to grab it with my tweezers. Make sure your tweezers are on the warm side, but your glass is nice and stiff and cool enough to where your tweezers are not going to smush into that glass. The boro comes pretty much right off of them already, because it is a different type of glass. It's a hard glass as opposed to the 104 soft glass. And it takes me a couple seconds to coax that boro away from the soft glass, but just take your time. Don't get frustrated here at the very end. You want to make sure you take all of that bit of boro off and then reestablish the flat side of Ms. Torso, and we're done. Thanks you guys for watching. We'll see you next time in the dungeon.